So I want to talk about one of my favorite shows, which is the Twilight Zone. I just, it's an older show, it's in black and white, and a lot of people don't get into it for that reason, like, oh, that show's so old. But, um, it's from, like, the 60s, and a lot of the acting can be pretty cheesy, but I like that. I think it adds to the charm, and I love the concepts of that show. I think that it really just has such good writing, and the concepts were so profound, and especially for the time. And I kind of just wanted to talk about like 3 of my favorite episodes. I've only seen maybe a quarter of the episodes of that show. One of my favorite episodes is called A Stop at Willoughby, and I just related with this episode so much. Even like I saw it a few years ago, but anybody who has a high stress job, demanding job, can relate with this episode so much. And especially lately, I've really been like, I'll be at work and the episode will come in my mind because I feel like that. So basically the episode is about this guy named Mr. Williams, and he is in sales, and he has a really high demand, high stressful, pressuring job, and his boss in particular is like always on him, and we need to do this, I need you to do this, and you gotta make it work, and you gotta make it, and he's always he always says push, push, push. He says that over and over in the episode. He's like, push, 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 Williams, push, push, push. And you can just see him, he's like, yeah, like he's so miserable and unfulfilled in his job, and like that is so relatable. But it just keeps getting worse and worse. And he takes a train home every night, and one night on the train there's a stop called Willoughby, and it's this place that's like totally different from his reality. It's set in like the 1800s. There's a band playing, everybody's walking around like calm and very slow pace, and everybody's just happy, and there's kids going fishing, and it's just very slow paced and relaxed compared to like the real world of corporate world of where everything's so fast paced and it's just high stress all day every day. And so like he gets a glimpse of this town called Willoughby, and he also has this wife who's very nagging, so he gets to come home to that every night, where she's very materialistic. She's very about him pushing him to climb the corporate ladder and to earn more and to do more. She doesn't love him. It's just about what he can do for her, what he can provide, and she pretty much berates him all the time, and like you should be doing so much more. And then the next day at work, this is what was so relatable for me, it's just like the stress builds and builds. And there's one point where he is at his desk he's got one phone in this hand, he's got the other phone in this hand. It's both people. They're like yelling at him through the phone and like this high energy of like demanding, like, I need you to do this right now. And so he's sitting there like looking at the two phones, and then the secretary comes in and she says, there's Mr. Misrule is waiting in the lobby for you. I need you to attend to him right now. And he's like got these two phones in his hands, and she keeps like on him. She's like, Mr. Williams, Mr. Misrule is in the lobby. And like, that was so relatable for me. And because that's how it is at my job. It's every day there's like, I've got phone calls coming in, I've got emails, like hundreds of emails a day, and people coming to my desk, and it's all this high energy, like, Chicken Little, sky is falling, oh my god, it's an emergency, everything's urgent, everything's an emergency, drop everything you're doing. It's like, I'm one person, and I don't have 8 arms like an octopus to be like doing all this stuff at once because it's all urgent. And some days I just want to like run from the building screaming, because it's like the energy is so high stress. Like, to have that energy coming at you from every angle every day, it's too much, and it's like, it sucks. It's really miserable. And like, so then he just hangs up the phones and he just goes into the bathroom, and then he's like kind of kneeling over the sink, like trying to catch his sanity and keep it together. And then he smashes the mirror and he calls his wife to say, like, I can't take another day of this, not one more day. And he basically tells her, like, he's coming home and he's quitting. And then he's like, are you there? Are you there? And she hangs up the phone. And that is like, it's so sad. Like, that confirms that she didn't care about him at all. It was what he could do for her. And so then he gets on the train again, and he's like, the next time there's a stop at Willoughby, I'm getting off for good. And so then, like, spoiler alert here, but what ends up happening is that he gets back to Willoughby, and now he's finally, he's like, they show him like he's being happy, and they have like the coroner. Then they flash back to reality, and they have the coroner, and he's laying there in the snow dead, and the coroner's asking the train guy on the train, he's like, what happened here? And he's like, I don't know, he just shouted something about Willoughby and left from the train. And in that moment I was like, damn. He was pushed so hard that he tried to seek solace, refuge any way he could to finally get to Willoughby. And Willoughby is kind of like a euphemism for heaven, maybe. But it just really, anybody who has a high stress job can relate with that episode, I think. Like, don't we all just daydream all the time about a place where we can go, where there's no stress, it's just relaxed and it's calm and it's good and the sun's shining, and you can just go at a slower, normal pace where you can just enjoy life. Like, that's what we do when we're in high stress. It's like we have to go into our minds to get away from it and just like dream up a place where it's better than this reality. It's a really sad episode, but it's, like I said, it's like profound for anybody who deals with high stress on a daily basis like that. And the second episode that I actually just watched like a couple weeks ago for the first time, it's called Number 12 Looks Just Like You. And the concept for that episode is about this girl who where she lives, it's in this. Now, this episode really, I feel like they predicted the future of where we're at right now. It's all about superficiality. And so this girl, she comes of age, like 18, where she needs to get this operation because everybody gets the operation at that age. And basically they show this like catalog on the wall of different women and like how they look, and they all have different numbers. So you pick which one that you want to look like, and then you'll look exactly like her face and her body. But this girl is different from everybody else because, so what it is like you have all these people walking around looking the same, pretty much. Like, I don't know how many different numbers there are, but there's not that many, just a few. But they all look the same, and they all wear these spandex jumpsuits, and they have a name tag, their name on it, so you can distinguish who's who, but they all look the same. And this one girl in particular doesn't want to get the operation when it comes time, and everybody around her is like baffled, like, why wouldn't you want to? Like, why don't you want to look perfect? And everybody around her tells her she's like average looking, but she is a really intelligent, feeling, interesting girl, but she doesn't want to get this operation because she likes the way that she looks, and she wants to stay how she looks because that's how she feels about herself. And so, like, even the men in this world all look the same too because it's the same thing. They get the operation and they all look the same as the few types that are available. And so the doctor like just tries to convince her to get the operation. Everybody does. And then there's one point in the episode where she's talking to her friend Val, who had the operation, and she says, "Val, don't you feel anything?" And she's like, "I mean, I feel good. I always feel good. Life is pretty. Life is good." And like, that moment made me think, like, that's what we've come to in society, isn't it? If you look on Instagram, all the girls look the same. The standard of beauty is set, and everybody tries to achieve that. And plastic surgery is probably at an all-time high right now. And really, that episode, the operation, is no different. It's everybody getting plastic surgery to look exactly like this prototype of what the standard of beauty is. And along in line with that is like, I think that feelings and personal expression and, you know, expanding your mind is kind of falling by the wayside with a lot of people in our society, because they care more about beauty and, like, it doesn't matter to them anymore. It's like beauty is all there is. Youth is all there is. That's all I need to be happy, and that's all I need to feel worthy as a person, is to have those things. And there is also a high pressure in this society too to feel good all the time. Like, if you're not walking around happy and good all the time, like, well, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? You're supposed to be in this society. You're supposed to be happy all the time. You're supposed to be doing good. And you're supposed to be projecting onto social media your perfect life all the time. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. But yeah, I felt like that episode really resonates with where we are at right now in society. And then the third episode that I really liked and made me think a lot is called A Spur of the Moment. And it starts out with this young girl, she's like 18, and she's like riding home, and this woman dressed in black on a horse like chases her down the hill, and she's got this like angry energy, and she's like coming down the hill chasing her. And then you come to find out later in the episode that that's actually her. It's the same person, but it's her older, in her like 40s, and she's chasing her down, trying to tell her, because this is the day of her marriage, and she's like trying to tell her not to marry that person. And she was engaged to this, I think he was a banker maybe, but basically she had two choices. And the one guy she was engaged to, he she wasn't like fully set on wanting to marry him. And then they show her, she has this other love interest, and she's very much like in love with him, and her heart belongs to him, and she ends up running off with the other guy that she's in love with, and they get married. And then they like show her in the future, now in her 40s, and she's just like miserable, and her life is just like misery. And the guy that she chose, she has had nothing but misery with him for years, and he's just like a terrible husband. I don't remember exactly. I think he like spent their money, he doesn't support at all. And he just treats her terribly. It was bad. And kind of the moral of the story, that was like the twist, because kind of the moral of the story that I took from it partly was that you shouldn't follow infatuation. I guess more so I would say you shouldn't follow your heart all the time. There's that saying, like, I don't know what it is, something like, follow your heart, you'll always win, or follow your heart, it will never lead you wrong, or something like that. And I'm like, that is terrible advice. Because you should never, I say from experience, like, you should not follow your heart. Don't follow your heart all the time, because you will lose. I'm much more of, you can take your heart into consideration, but you should use your brains and your intuition. Use those three things in combination and really think through things in making decisions. Because there are a lot of people who go through their life just listening to their heart and find themselves in situations that they wish they weren't in. And because your heart is so, like, you're just following finicky, fleeting feelings that that's a big thing, is that a ton of people in this world think that infatuation is love, and they mistake the two. And you know, I love him, I love her so much. Ugh. And they don't even know the person. Like, they've been with or known the person a month, 2 months, 3 months. Like, I don't think you can really know a person until at least a year. And too many people just, like, jump the gun, and they claim that they're in love, and they believe that they're in love, but really it's just infatuation. And that episode just really got me thinking about decisions, life decisions in general, and how you don't want to end up like that lady and be miserable and bitter and sour because of a jump decision that you made. But anyway, those are 3 of my favorite episodes, and like I said, I haven't seen that many. If you like the Twilight Zone and have any recommendations of episodes that you really like and you think I should watch, let me know. Comments are appreciated, and I'll see you in my next video.